possibly
change the
can. I'm
title?
Visual Venture and you are awesome. Antiwork. In 2013, a strange community appeared on Reddit. It was called Antiwork, but Antiwork wasn't your average discussion board. It was a place for people who hated the idea of having a job. They thought it was wrong that people needed to work just to afford basic needs. Antiwork's tagline made their message clear: unemployment for all, not just the rich. They invited anyone who wanted to end work or enjoy a work-free life to join. It was an active group. Members shared stories about bad
Let me
bosses,
join.
burnout, and how work ruined their lives. One post read, "Why do we have to work on a planet none of us asked to live on?" Another said, "I don't need a job and I feel great. There's nothing good that having a job would do for me." They even recommended books that supported their beliefs. Their favorite titles were The Abolition of Work and In Praise of Idleness. For years, Antiwork was a strange small community. It had a few thousand users. Then the pandemic hit, and suddenly Antiwork didn't sound so crazy anymore. The pandemic sent the world into lockdown. Millions lost their jobs. Others were stuck in miserable
81
jobs for low
million.
pay.
That's
For the first time,
crazy.
people everywhere began to question what work actually meant. And when they searched online for answers, they found Antiwork. Within a year, the subreddit grew to 1.7 million members. But the new members weren't like the originals. They had different views on what it meant to be anti-work. The early members believed work itself was wrong. The newcomers just wanted better working conditions, like fair pay, reasonable hours, and basic respect from bosses. Now, two ideas were sharing the same space, and it created a lot of arguments.
There was a lot of infighting amongst these groups, but even worse than that, the fringe minorities of these started to become representative.
That tension was building, and it was about to explode in
Green
front
pill,
of
red
millions.
pill.
In late 2021, Fox News heard about the Antiwork subreddit. They wanted someone from the group to appear on national television to explain what it was all about. Almost all the moderators voted to decline the offer, but one person insisted on doing the interview anyway. Her name was Doreen Ford. Doreen was Antiwork's lead moderator. She was also one of Antiwork's original members. She helped build the community from the ground up, and despite everyone's warnings, she insisted on doing the interview. In January 2022, Doreen appeared on Fox News. She was representing over 1 million Antiwork members, and things went wrong almost immediately. Doreen looked uneasy. She kept glancing away from the camera. Then the host asked a straightforward question.
Doreen, why do you like the idea of being home, not working, but still getting paid?
Doreen tried to explain her philosophy, but halfway through, she said something that ignited a firestorm.
So I think laziness is a virtue in a society where people constantly want you to be productive 24/7.
Laziness is a virtue. That statement was very controversial. The host didn't argue. He just smiled and moved on. He asked Doreen what she wanted to do with her life. She answered,
I would love to teach.
Teach.
Work with people and stuff like that.
What
on
would
that.
you
Yeah.
teach, Doreen?
Philosophy mostly.
Not long after the segment ended,
Philosophy.
and within hours, the Antiwork subreddit descended into chaos. So remember those two groups inside Antiwork? One side wanted to abolish jobs completely. The other side just wanted fair pay and better treatment. Well, both sides were mad at Doreen, but for very different reasons. New members were mad because Doreen called laziness a virtue on national television. They didn't want to be portrayed as lazy freeloaders. They just wanted better working conditions. One member
Yeah.
wrote, "That interview was so embarrassing. It made me go back to work." Another said his mother asked if he was part of the lazy movement that was on the news the other day. The original members were angry for another reason. In the interview, Doreen mentioned that she wanted to be a teacher. Well, teaching is obviously a job, and working a job went against everything they believed in. Soon, both sides agreed on one thing. Doreen ruined the reputation. The anger spread fast. It started with a few harsh comments, then it escalated. Members demanded that Doreen step down as moderator. The other moderators thought that was extreme. Doreen messed up, but they still supported her. Other members refused to stop criticizing her. So the moderators banned some users who spoke out against Doreen. But even the bans didn't stop the backlash. So the moderators made a drastic decision. They locked the Antiwork subreddit. No one could post or comment, but silence didn't stop the chaos. It just pushed it somewhere darker. Angry members went after Doreen personally. They dug into her past. Before long, someone found old social media posts where Doreen
Doxin.
admitted to inappropriate behavior and harassment. To humiliate her, they shared those screenshots all over Reddit. A few days later, the moderators reopened Antiwork. They released a statement addressing the accusations against Doreen. It said, "We don't know enough to feel comfortable about making a statement. The individual in question has been removed from the moderation team." Doreen was gone, but removing her didn't bring peace. Thousands of members were disgusted by how everything played out. They quit the group entirely. Those who stayed stopped posting. The community that once had millions of active members was now a ghost town. Today, Antiwork still exists, but it's a shadow of what it once was. Now, I don't agree with anything that Doreen did, but here's what's scary: how fast people found her private information. They pulled up old posts, accounts, and personal details just like that. That's because data brokers make it incredibly easy. A few years ago, someone did the same to me. They found my personal information and threatened me with it. I tried removing my information from every website I could, but there was just too many. These sketchy websites are selling your data to anyone willing to pay, and it's completely legal, which is on top of that, you get access to H was a subreddit with one purpose: to mock overweight people. That was the entire point. One of the rules even said absolutely no fat sympathy. Members didn't wait for content to find them. They went hunting for it. Here's how it worked.
The members would scour social media in particular, looking for images of overweight people doing things in compromising situations or looking funny, that they would all then post and sort of get together and mock.
They dug through fitness posts, sewing threads, and mental health spaces. No corner of Reddit was off limits. Once they found a photo, they took it without permission and posted it to FPH. Then they wrote negative captions about the overweight stranger in the photo. Every post was a contest to see who could write the meanest comment. The more vicious the insult, the more upvotes it got. Eventually, FPH grew to 150,000 members. It became a feeding frenzy of insults. But that raised a serious question. Why did Reddit ever allow something like this to exist? Reddit had a philosophy: free speech above almost everything else. The company believed users should decide what to see, not administrators. That policy made Reddit hesitant to ban questionable subreddits. But FPH wasn't just exercising free speech. They were going out of their way to humiliate people. Ironically, FPH members were happy to mock others, but they couldn't handle any criticism. For instance, one day some of their mean-spirited posts were reposted to a site called Imgur. Unlike Reddit, Imgur had strict rules. So when Imgur employees saw the inappropriate photos, they deleted them immediately. FPH took that as an attack. They claimed Imgur was censoring them, and they decided to fight back. Members dug up photos of Imgur employees and posted them on FPH. Then, as a group, they mocked the staff's bodies and looks. This wasn't trolling anymore, it was targeted harassment, and Reddit could no longer ignore it. On June 10th, 2015, Reddit banned 5 subreddits. FPH was at the top of the list.
Reddit has banned a bunch of their subreddit communities, including r/fat people hate.
For Reddit, the ban was long overdue, but for FPH members, it was a betrayal of Reddit's free speech roots. To protest the ban, FPH members created dozens of copycat subreddits. Each sounded very similar to FPH. Reddit banned them as fast as they appeared. But the angry users weren't done yet. They focused their rage on a single target: Ellen Pao, Reddit CEO. They plastered her photos across the site with inappropriate captions. A petition demanding her resignation gained over 200,000 signatures. But Reddit refused to reverse the ban, so FPH members packed up and left the site entirely. They migrated to a platform called Vote. It was a Reddit clone with almost no rules. Within days, Vote's version of FPH reached 38,000 subscribers. Their negative content had a new home. But on Reddit, FPH was gone for good. This next community turned dating into something toxic. Female dating strategy. Female dating strategy was supposed to be a space for women who wanted better relationships. But inside, the advice wasn't about love or kindness. It was about control. We'll call the female dating strategy subreddit FDS. Members of FDS were expected to accept certain beliefs. The first was about how to categorize men. According to FDS, every man fit into one of 4 groups: high value, low value, negative value, 0 value. A high-value man was the type who loves to show his woman that he can provide. He pays for dates and covers most expenses in the relationship. A low-value man was the opposite, someone with little to offer. A negative value man subtracts value from your life. A zero-value man adds absolutely no value to your life. If a man didn't meet their standards, members had a nickname for him: Scrote. It was their insult for any man they considered beneath them. Another FDS rule encouraged women to date multiple men at once. They called this a scrotation. Scrotation meant a rotation of suitors you were currently dating but not in an exclusive relationship with. They did that to assess each man to see who could offer the most. And in FDS, money was the most important measure of value. The rules made it clear. Generous men are non-negotiable. That meant not splitting the bill and not dating financially challenged men. But FDS didn't just tell women how to treat men. It also had a weird system of rewarding and punishing members. If a woman disagreed with the group's...
If you're taking a girl out on a first date, don't take her out on a dinner date, okay? It's a first date. Take her out on, I don't know, a coffee date. That's pretty cheap. Or my favorite would be Carnival Fest. Yeah, you don't have to pay for like a dinner date on your first freaking date. What if you guys don't like each other and you're stuck? You have to eat your dinner while you know you want to match. There's no vibe. That's it. Thank you so much.
Crazy ideas, she was branded
don't take them out for a dinner date. Thank you so much.
Word meant a woman who degrades...
Maybe on a second date, yeah. It makes sense, but first date, no. Write it down, please. Thank you.
herself for the fleeting attention of men, but it became an insult for any woman who didn't submit to their beliefs. The subreddit even had its own ranking system. At the top were ruthless strategists, followed by strategy coaches, and then disciples at the bottom. The higher you rank, the more power you had to enforce the rules. And breaking those rules even slightly meant an instant ban. One member was banned for saying a relationship is a two-way thing. That one sentence got her kicked out. Another woman claimed that she was banned for dating a man with a disability. To moderators, that man was low value because they didn't think he could provide money for the relationship. There were no warnings, no second chances, just bans. As word spread, FDS developed a dark reputation. Journalists started reaching out to members for interviews. The moderators warned everyone to stay silent. No one was allowed to talk to the press. And things went from bad to disturbing. One FDS member noticed a shocking comment in the group. The comment suggested that women should end their sons, knowing what they will grow to be. The screenshot went public, and people began calling FDS out. Someone described it as a toxic, hateful sub filled with bad advice. Another labeled it a cult. At that point, FDS had over 250,000 members. That kind of reach made outsiders nervous. They worried the group's insane ideas might spread beyond Reddit. By 2021, petitions began circulating demanding that Reddit shut FDS down. One called Female Dating Strategy an extremely terrible place that deserves to be deleted. Blogs cover the story. They exposed FDS's cult-like rules and beliefs. Public pressure kept building, but before Reddit could act, FDS made its own move. In April 2022, the moderators announced that they were leaving Reddit to launch their own website. The official reason was that Reddit admins don't respond to serious reports of harassment of female users. Today, the Female Dating Strategy subreddit still exists, but it's mostly abandoned. The few remaining posts are just links to their new site. Now we're taking things a little further with this next subreddit.
That's so messed up.
Ephilism was a subreddit with about 9,000 members. They all shared one disturbing desire. They wanted all life on Earth to end permanently. The group's name was a reflection of this belief. Ephilism is actually the word life spelled backwards. Members believed the world would be better if nothing existed. No people, no animals, no pain. Inside the subreddit, they spent hours debating how to stop people from bringing more life into the world. Most of them only talked, but one member decided to act. His name was Guy Bartkus. Guy was 25, and he was deeply involved in the Ephilis community. He believed parents were selfish for having kids. To him, fertility clinics were a big part of that evil because they helped people start families. In one of his posts, he wrote wrote, "I'm very against IVF. It's extremely wrong. These are people who are having kids after they've sat there and thought about it." To outsiders, those words sounded unhinged, but inside Ephilism, they were normal. One day, a guy decided to show how much he despised fertility clinics. On May 17th, 2025, a guy drove to a fertility clinic in Palm Springs. Then he set up a camera on a tripod. He planned to live stream what was about to happen. Within minutes, there was chaos.
We heard this loud noise. I shook all over building.
It was a big bang.
Guy didn't survive. 4 others were injured. When police arrived, they found a guy's camera still recording. It didn't take long to figure out what happened. The FBI took over the case. When they searched Guy's home, they found a website he created. On it was a 30-minute recording explaining his motive. Guy said, basically, it just comes down to, "I'm angry that I exist and that nobody got my consent to bring me here." The FBI kept digging, trying to determine if Guy acted alone. Eventually, they discovered he hadn't. There was an accomplice on the loose. The accomplice was Daniel Park. For years, Park secretly helped Guy gather materials to carry out his plan.
Mr. Park, who shares Barkis's extremist beliefs, is accused of shipping approximately 180 pounds of ammonium nitrate.
After the fertility clinic incident, Park fled the US and escaped to Poland, but he didn't get far. 2 weeks later, authorities arrested him at an airport. He was extradited to the US and jailed. But then the case was front page news. Reporters connected the Ephilism subreddit to the Palm Springs tragedy. Media outlets slammed Reddit for allowing such a dangerous community to exist. Eventually, Reddit gave in and banned the subreddit, but the Ephilism members didn't go quietly. They argued the ban was unfair because Ephilism wasn't violent, but Reddit refused to reverse the ban, so they created a new subreddit called Ephilism 2. Its description said it was just an alternative to the ban page. This next community made life unbearable for famous people. Snark communities.
Snark.
The word snark was just another word for sarcasm, but Reddit users gave it a darker meaning. Around 2015, a new type of subreddit appeared. They were called snark pages. They had names like Ariana Grande Snark, Colleen Ballinger Snark, and LA Influencers Snark. Each one had the same purpose: to troll influencers. They were entire communities created to gossip about a single person.
Listen, snark subreddits, they're a place where people go and they gossip and they say bad things about people they don't like.
But sometimes members went beyond gossip. They mocked influencers directly on social media. By 2020, there were dozens of snark pages, each one devoted to tearing down one creator. Whenever an influencer got caught up in a scandal, their snark page would light up with activity. Members would gossip, spread rumors, and send horrible messages. But when there was no drama, things got quiet. Too quiet. That's when one group decided to do something different. Instead of waiting for a scandal, they would create one. That's what happened to a YouTuber named Adam McIntyre. Adam was a YouTuber from Ireland. He usually made commentary videos about other YouTubers and internet culture. In 2025, he was approved for a US visa. He was coming to America to film live shows for his podcast. It was kind of like a tour where he could meet fans and perform in person. Getting that visa wasn't easy. For international creators, the process can take months or even years. So when Adam finally got it, he celebrated the moment by posting a picture online. But not everyone was happy for him. Someone already created a snark subreddit dedicated to mocking Adam. Members of the Adam McIntyre snark saw his tweet about getting a US visa. They immediately zoomed in on the image. They examined every pixel, every word, every mark. Then one user noticed something. There was a tiny R printed on the document. Members started speculating. What did the R stand for? After some sloppy research, they decided it must mean R1 visa. R1 is a type of visa given only to priests and religious workers. But Adam wasn't a priest. He was a YouTuber. The group decided that Adam somehow got his visa fraudulently. Maybe he lied to the US government in order to enter the country. The accusation spread fast across social media. One comment said, "Adam, tell us, what religious activities did you do?" It became a full-blown scandal. Except it was all false. The R on his document stood for regular passport, not a religious visa. There was nothing illegal about it. But members of the snark subreddit made things worse. They reported Adam to ICE, the US Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency. Adam eventually found out that he was reported, and he was furious.
This was no longer snarking. This was putting me in government records incorrectly because you don't know how to read a visa.
Those false reports could have gotten him detained or even deported. Luckily, Adam didn't get into real trouble, but he wasn't the only one who experienced this type of snark harassment. Trisha Paytas was a YouTuber with over 5 million followers. Her fame made her an easy target. Someone created a snark subreddit called Trishyland. It was filled with people devoted to making Trisha's life miserable. Inside members mocked her non-stop. They made fun of her body and criticized her choices. They even threatened to call child protection services on her. Not because Trisha did anything wrong. They just felt she was unfit to be a mom. The group even leaked Trisha's bedroom photos to humiliate her. It was too much. Trisha broke down on camera.
It's like really scary, it's frightening. It's not right.
Trisha first reported the harassment to Reddit, but for months the platform didn't take action. Then in August 2022, a blog wrote about the attacks against Trisha. They called it a coordinated harassment campaign. The article went viral. It put a huge spotlight on Reddit's snark communities. Other blogs started investigating harassment on the platform. Only then did Reddit take action. Trishyland was banned. Around the same time, the Adam McIntyre snark subreddit was also banned. Although Reddit removed those pages, the snark culture didn't end. Snark subreddits still exist today, making life unbearable for some people. This next community leaked people's private lives for fun. The Fappening. This wasn't just another subreddit. It was the largest hub for stolen celebrity photos. It all began with a massive cyber attack in August 2014. Hackers broke into the iCloud accounts of more than 100 celebrities, almost all women. Once they got in, they downloaded hundreds of inappropriate private pictures and videos.
From Jennifer Lawrence to Kate Upton, it is what could be the largest breach of private, racy celebrity photos in history.
At first, the leaked photos were posted to 4chan. Then a Reddit user saw an opportunity. He created a subreddit specifically for people who wanted to view them all in one place. He called it the Fappening. Within hours, 50,000 people joined. Members treated the leaked photos like entertainment. They celebrated the invasion of privacy as if it were a game. For the women involved, it was horrifying, especially when they discovered that a subreddit was created just to view their photos, and these women hated it.
It's a total violation.
The victims put massive pressure on Reddit to act. So Reddit issued warnings. Anyone reposting those images would be permanently banned. Then on September 7, 2014, Reddit shut down the Fappening page. The official reason was copyright violation. The subreddit existed for barely a week, but it was too late. The photos had already been downloaded and saved by thousands. Eventually, the FBI launched an official investigation. Between 2016 and 2018, several hackers were arrested and convicted. Justice was served, but it came too late for the victims, because once something leaks online, it never truly disappears. This next group celebrated stupidity until it went too far. Darwin Awards. Darwin Awards turned a tragedy into entertainment. The subreddit was built around one dark idea, laughing at people who lost their lives doing something incredibly stupid. But that twisted sense of humor didn't start on Reddit. It began decades earlier. Long before Reddit, there were early internet chat rooms. People would gather to share strange news stories, especially about people who lost their lives in reckless ways. The accidents were so absurd that they almost didn't sound real. Then in 1993, someone took those stories and built a website around them. She called it the Darwin Awards after the scientist Charles Darwin. But why Darwin? Darwin's theory of evolution is based on natural selection. It's the idea that only the fittest survive to pass on their genes. Darwin Awards flipped that concept into dark comedy. If someone lost their life because of their own stupidity, the joke was that they were selecting themselves out of the gene pool. Their stupidity couldn't be passed down. The people who passed away won a Darwin Award for their stupidity. It was an insult disguised as a joke. The stories on the website were written with a comedic twist. One Darwin Award winner in 1993 was a lawyer. He tried to prove a skyscraper window was unbreakable. He ran straight into it to show off. The glass held, but the frame didn't. He fell out of the building and didn't survive. Another story involved two men leaning out of a moving bus for fun. Neither made it back in. These weren't made-up stories. They were about real people with real families. And yet the internet turned their final moments into comedy. By the 2000s, the Darwin Awards website had millions of visitors. It even inspired a movie. And eventually that dark humor found a home on Reddit. The Darwin Awards subreddit revived the old idea for a new generation. Their description read, "Population control volunteers. The tree of life is self-pruning." Members shared videos and articles about people passing away from avoidable mistakes. But over time, some of them began to feel bad about making fun of people's tragedies. One finally called it out. They wrote, "The concept of Darwin Awards is evil. Imagine you fell to your death. Then people started insulting you while your family was grieving. Another said they used to find it funny when they were younger, but not anymore. They wrote, "Now I see life as precious. These were just people who were unlucky." And they ended with one haunting reminder. Imagine if your close relative got featured there. The Darwin Awards subreddit is still active, and they're still making fun of other people's tragedies. This next community isn't for the faint-hearted. It showed people things they couldn't unsee. Eyeblech. Reddit had a popular page called Eyeblech. It was a community for sharing beautiful, happy, or adorable content. Millions visited it regularly. It was filled with cute animal videos and cheerful content. Then someone created a nearly identical page with one tiny change. They removed a single letter, A. The new subreddit was called Eyeblech, and it was the evil twin of the original. The original Eyeblech showed puppies and kittens, but Eyeblech showed real videos of gore, injury, and disaster. And these were real videos of real people. But why was it called Eyeblech? It was designed to trick people. The people who made Eyeblech admitted that they wanted to trick users trying to find the cute animal page. Their plan worked. Thousands clicked on Eyeblech thinking it was Eyeblech. Instead of puppies, they were greeted with horrifying videos. Sometimes people didn't even realize they were on the wrong page. One person said they kept watching thinking Eyeblech had a super dark side. Someone eventually had to tell them they were on a completely different page. But not everyone got there by accident. Many visited Eyeblech because they wanted to see the disturbing content. They said watching gore videos reminded them how fragile life is. Others claimed the gore videos made them more careful in their daily lives. But for countless others, the effects were negative. In 2021, a boy posted on Reddit begging for advice. He wrote, "I went on Eyeblech because I was curious, but now I can't get those things out of my head." The images kept replaying in his mind. Someone replied saying the boy was showing signs of traumatic stress. The boy wanted to tell his parents, but he was scared they'd take his phone away. But he wasn't the only one experiencing these issues. Someone said they threw up after watching a video on Eyeblech. Another said they accidentally found the page months ago and still hadn't recovered. More people came forward with similar stories. They begged Reddit to take action, but Reddit didn't do anything. The page stayed online. By early 2023, people were furious. Their problem was that Eyeblech tricked them into watching inappropriate videos. They created petitions demanding the company ban Eyeblech. Thousands of people signed. Eventually, Reddit had no choice but to respond. In April 2023, Reddit gave the Eyeblech moderators an ultimatum. They had 4 months to clean up the community. That meant removing the worst content. If they didn't, Reddit would ban the page permanently. The moderators barely made an effort. They deleted a few posts, but most of the gore stayed. They didn't think Reddit would actually follow through. They were wrong. In September 2023, Reddit banned Eyeblech for violating the moderator code of conduct. The page that traumatized thousands was finally gone. Today, if you try to visit it, all you see is one sentence: Eyeblech has been banned from Reddit. My friends, spending too much time in toxic places changes you. And the negativity doesn't just disappear when you log off. So be intentional about what you watch and where you spend your energy, because what you consume eventually consumes you. Visual venture. So you guys just watched part 2.
Post radio. Don't watch gore. Yeah, why do people watch gore stuff? I've seen a lot of people watch gore and stuff. Doesn't it make them squeamish? That's a new word. Squeamish.